I got a tip for you. Don't let no one get this close.
No. Please stop. I can't let you get close.
Welcome back to another N-Cut movie review. Today we have Roadhouse, and did this hold up to the cult classic Roadhouse 1989? Let's find out.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. The plot of this film is essentially a remake of the 1989 classic, and in most aspects, it is a like-for-like remake. When it comes to the scenes and certain things like that, the plot is not as fleshed out in this one as in the first one. But they didn't really go for that side of things in this movie. It was more just about the action-packed scenes, and I guess having Conor McGregor on the screen and seeing how many people that could draw in. Gyllenhaal's character, Dalton, gets a job as a bouncer and essentially has to try and save the Roadhouse from being taken over by a rich property mogul who wants to build a hotel on some strip in Florida. And complications arise from that because he wants to save the Roadhouse, this developer wants to destroy it so he can build his hotel, and it's just him fighting this kingpin boss and then falls in love with a corrupted police chief's daughter. Like, the plot of this film is not deep at all. It is not a deep plot whatsoever. The draw is Conor McGregor, Jake Gyllenhaal facing off, fighting each other, UFC style. Him having infinite plot armor. He can get stabbed, he can get shot, and he doesn't feel anything because he was a UFC fighter, which apparently makes him the Terminator. I love Jake Gyllenhaal, so of course I'm going to watch this movie. I love Conor McGregor. Of course I'm going to watch this movie. So if you are into those two things, you should like this movie, but don't go into it thinking it's going to be this intricate film. No, it is just about action. I think they could have cut probably half an hour out of this movie and just condensed all the action sort of into one gigantic sequence, and that would have been a little bit better, because there is parts where they're trying to make you care about certain characters when you just don't know who they are. You couldn't care less about them. You just want to see Jake Gyllenhaal do his thing fighting. That's essentially what you take away from this movie.
Because in the original is so heavily focused on storyline, it's heavily focused on the romance and then how you can save the bar. But in this movie, it's just he wants to beat the shit out of everyone that he sees. That's all they care about.
He's essentially Billy Hope out of Southpaw in this film. Once again, he walked from the set of Southpaw over to the set of this movie, and he just reenacted the whole of Southpaw, different environment, same character.
And then insert also Fast and Furious plot and story, and put two of the main actors in Fast and Furious, shove them right into this film as well. So all of them are working on one lot. They all just came together and filmed this movie. That's what it seemed to be. There was nothing that deep about it.
The only thing this film I feel was missing was, it would have been hilarious if they had dropped in a Family Guy reference, some sort of Peter Griffin in the background saying Roadhouse.
Roadhouse. Roadhouse. Roadhouse. Roadhouse. Roadhouse. Roadhouse. Roadhouse. Roadhouse.
Would have been a great reference, a great pop culture reference.
Roadhouse. Geordie was saying one thing that was missing was Peter Griffin. Another thing that was missing was Sam fucking Elliott. Bring him back just for a cameo or something, please.
Not even Sam Elliott, just bring that voice back.
All we need.
If you know, you know. If you've seen the original, that man voice is angelic. Now, the classic original one, I feel watching that drew you in a little bit more because there was a bit more storyline and there's a little bit more growth from Patrick Swayze's character, from being this sort of like quiet guy who's just a gun for hire, protecting bars, protecting different businesses. Whereas in this film, Gyllenhaal's character is just a genuine psychopath that just wants to fight all the time, and that's his only job. So that side of things doesn't really draw you in. In the original, the love story was a bit more intricate. The romance was a bit more of a hook, and you had more chemistry, I feel, between the two characters, and it sort of drew you in a bit more. Whereas in this one, it just felt sort of superficial, like it was a plot point to move the movie forward a little bit and to just not be brawl. I mean, Gyllenhaal's character is the exact same in the opening scene and he is the exact same at the ending scene. Just a brute.
Exactly. He's not really stoic like Patrick Swayze's character was. So the correlation between both of them is Patrick Swayze being kind of like a hunk that everyone wants to sleep with, and he knows it, and it's got more fleshed out backstory. But then you go to Jake Gyllenhaal, and you don't really get told anything, just kind of flashbacks, and he has these night terrors, and you don't really explain why. And he's basically just, like Geordie said, just a genuine psychopath. But then on top of that, you have McGregor, who also says he's a genuine psychopath. And I guess evil knows evil in that point, where they both just want to fight and beat the living hell out of each other and then destroy as much as they can and have that action-packed, velocity towards this film. Also, put more nudity in this too. No, I'd actually probably like it.
I think one of the things that made the original a real cult classic is when you're watching it, you can really tell this is an 80s, 90s movie. It has the nudity, it has the cool jazz singer, the cool guy on stage who's singing the really cool blues rock sort of music. It has the awesome bar fights where there's like Patrick Swayze sort of sitting in the corner just watching the crowd going, I know I can beat these guys up, everyone's afraid of him. Then he comes in and saves the damsel in distress. It had the typical hallmarks of a 1980s, 1990s movie. You could take Patrick Swayze out, You could put Jean-Claude Van Damme in there. You could put Sylvester Stallone in there. You could put Arnold Schwarzenegger in there. You could put Bruce Willis in there. That's the kind of vibe that movie had. The newer Roadhouse, not so much. It just sort of felt like it was missing something that the original had.
There was no connection. I think that to me was the biggest part about this film, was that when you experience a movie, you're supposed to be connected to either the characters, the story, or at least enjoyment through the action. And that was the only thing that you got. Every 5 minutes, there's some type of action scene. The script was very weak. It didn't have anything really to it. There was scenes added in here that didn't make sense to why they were added in. They could have definitely skipped them and just cut us to a different scene. Like as Geordie was saying, when they should have condensed all of this down to 30 minutes, most of the scenes that kept going on were way too long. Like we don't need to see McGregor climb up a ladder and then say stop to a car and get in it. We don't need to see that. It's fine that he survives. Leave it at that and move on. Let's go to a different scene. That is the type of drawn out stuff that happened through this film where you just think to yourself, why? And I'm not connected to any of this.
There's definitely aspects that are quite boring and you're sort of sitting there going, okay, this is dragging out a little bit too much now. Let's get back to the action scene of Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor fighting, or Gyllenhaal just punching on with guys, because that is the basis of this film. That is all really that they've sort of put forward in this film. That's it. That's the kind of movie you go into watching this. We're not saying that it was bad in that respect. It's just the differences between the original and then this one, and that's why you want to watch this film. That's what Roadhouse is. It's just a bar fight. That is the movie. That's the premise. One thing we got to talk about is the man himself, the king, the notorious Conor McGregor. His acting debut, like we all know, what is he? The highest paid athlete, highest paid pay-per-view, now the highest paid debut actor of all time. He didn't act in this film. They put a camera on him and followed him around for 5, 6, 7 weeks of his life, and the footage that they brought back is exactly what this was. This is just him walking around Ireland, walking around Monte Carlo, going around in his boat, and just being Conor McGregor. There was no acting in this film whatsoever. They were real bar fights he was in. He was really punching on with guys. He really did punch on with Jake Gyllenhaal. He found him in a car park one time and just thought, I'm going to punch on with this guy because I don't like him. There was no acting from Conor McGregor. It was just Conor McGregor. It was great.
They were yelling, Conor, this isn't in the script. He goes, I don't give a shit. He's going to cut my straight left.
Yeah.
Jab, dodge, uppercut, backhand, roll.
This is you bouncing. And he was great in this film. Every time he came on the screen, we were waiting for it. We were amped up waiting for Conor to come on. And every time he came on the screen, you just found yourself laughing. He did really well. For a guy who's never acted in his life, who's a UFC fighter, I think he did great.
And I'm not sure if you guys have seen the interview with GQ where he's in the boxing ring with Jake Gyllenhaal, but he does preface that he is a white belt in this game. Now, he doesn't know how to act, and he doesn't really know how to bring his presence on screen and how to portray a character. So what's the best option there? Be yourself. Play Conor McGregor. And that's exactly what he did. He played Conor McGregor in Conor McGregor, starring Conor McGregor, featuring Roadhouse. That's what he played. He did a decent job at it. It was almost like no one gave him pointers on what to do, or they were too scared to. So he's just gone, okay, I'm going to play myself, and if no one's pulling me up on it, then I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And honestly, it was pretty good. For his first time, he did an amazing job. And half this movie, he was driving around in the bloody Ferrari or a cab and smashing into trees. So didn't give a shit.
And he kept crashing his car. If you know, that's like a recurring theme. He kept crashing his car. And it was sort of a refreshing take on him being like the henchman. If you've watched the original one, the henchmen, all of them, every single one of them is the exact same. They're these like sort of quiet, stoic, crazy, sort of not much emotion henchmen guys. They're just brute for Patrick Swayze's character to be a punching bag for. In this one, Conor is just Conor himself, and he's sort of this out there, loud, funny sort of enemy character, which sort of was played on what this Roadhouse was going for. The original Roadhouse was a bit more heavy, it was a bit more deep of a plot, whereas this one with Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor is just a fun sort of action-packed popcorn film. That's all it is. It's just funny. And Conor McGregor, the way he acted as the heel in this was kind of perfect for that.
And another thing we have to mention is a special guest appearance by Post Malone at the very start of this film. And I think he did the soundtrack for this film as well. And we love Post Malone, so shout out to that guy for even getting accepted for this role.
And it must be pretty cool to be in a movie, watching yourself in a fighting scene and your music is the background music playing. One thing that I noticed in this film was that, like, Conor, we see you shooting for the leg, we see you shooting for the double and the single. Why couldn't you do that against Khabib Nurmagomedov? Why couldn't you do that against Dustin Poirier? Please, we need you back on the winning circle.
And I saw you checking some calf kicks. Have you learnt now, or did you always know this? Get back out there.
Where were those checks against Dustin?
July, December. I need to see him, please.
Please.
I'm going to rate it probably a 50%, okay? It was just a mediocre movie, something to chuck on, pretty easy watch. If you're really into action-packed scenes and sequences, this is the movie for you. If you are going in here thinking that it's going to be something like the original, there is a lot of callbacks, but no, in terms of storyline and progression, all that sort of stuff, nowhere near.
My rating for this film would be around about a 50% too. It is a typical streaming movie these days where the plot isn't too heavy, the CGI is pretty garbage. It has a lot of callbacks to the originals, a lot of like a lot of scene for scene sort of remakes. For people who are fans of the original, they'll see and they'll go, oh, I remember that from that film. But yeah, not a complex movie at all. Genuine definition of a popcorn film. You're just going to watch Conor McGregor and Jake Gyllenhaal punch on for an hour and a half.
And try to understand McGregor of what he's saying.
And Connor, check those leg kicks, please. We need you to win again.
And come back in July and December. Stay to your word, please. Stay true to your word. Anyway, guys, been another N-Cut movie review. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Your wife's in me DMs. Was this better than the original?
Anyway, guys, peace. We out.
Peace.
And cut.